So the housing bubble, what was it? Coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense Logical Reason, and as always, y'all, thank y'all for joining me today. So, most people have heard of the housing bubble. I mean, it was a hot subject in the media in the late 90s and early 2000s. So I'm pretty sure most people have heard of it, but most people don't know what it is, So we're going to discuss that today, just so that people could be informed. But under Bill Clinton, the government, who's a truly left, the left, they're always into this group idea, and we all should have, and we all should share in the American dream, and we all should have this large group hub and live happily ever after. So this is a socialist idea that just doesn't operate in the land of reality. Well, home ownership is an American dream, as you can see. And does a society benefit when everybody's doing well? I would say yes. So home ownership is a good thing. The problem is that everybody shouldn't be owning a home. And if everybody should own a home, then they probably would own one. But there's criteria into owning a home, and one of those criteria is that you have to have good credit standing, so that people who lend money to you will be secure in the fact that you will pay it back and they will get their money back. They get a return on their investment. Well, under Bill Clinton, he expanded the Community Reinvestment Act, basically forcing lenders, a lending institution, to lend to people who ordinarily would not have been qualified to get a home, to get a mortgage. Well, those lending institutions basically came to the government and said, well, wait a minute, there's a reason why we don't lend to them. And if we lend to these people, well, what happens if they default and we don't get our money back? Well, the government said, well, you go ahead and issue loans to these people, and if anybody default, we'll insure you against that. And basically, these lenders, they went ham crazy, doing exactly what the government told them to do. They were issuing out all these loans and everything. Now, normally when it comes down to these loans, or lending institutions, when they get their return on the back end once the people have paid the loans. But what they were doing is that they were making a whole bunch of loans, toxic loans, and then they will package them up in deals, and then they will sell them off, meaning they will get their money up front. Now, who will buy these deals? Well, people looking to invest their money. Anybody who has money and is looking to let their money work for them and make more money for them, such as rich people who invest. A lot of people's retirements, 401ks, were tied up into these these bad toxic mortgages. People's pension funds, and a lot of the money that's in investment money, because we have an economy that's based off of driven by businesses. And if you want to have a business, and it takes money to make money, so if you want to start a business, well, you would have to go out there and borrow money from lenders, and a lot of money was tied up into these toxic loans. Now, these mortgages companies, these lenders, they basically were giving people these, as we say, toxic loans, these interest on their loans, adjustable rate mortgage, interest on the loans. These are loans with high interest rates to start off with. But it really was the adjustable rate mortgages, because these adjustable rate mortgages or variable rate mortgages will adjust based upon the cost index for the lenders. So if you are a person who got a mortgage and you got an adjustable rate mortgage, and your initial payment was $700 a month, something that most people can easily manage, but 5 to 10 years later, your mortgage has adjusted. Your rate has adjusted, and now your payment is twice that, $1,400, and that's something that most people probably would have a hard time paying. And as a result of that, so many people were defaulting on those loans. because of the inability to be able to pay it, or people who just with terrible money and shouldn't have had the loan in the first place that the government forced to happen. And the problem with this was, again, because of these loans and people were defaulting on them, so many people were defaulting on them at a higher rate. A lot of money, investment money to do more investment, were tied up into these loans. Plus, people who have their retirement tied up into these loans wouldn't have gotten any retirement payments. And other people who's building up their 401k, planning for retirement, would have taken a great hit. So if the government, let's look at the bailouts. Now, if the governments wouldn't have bailed out, well, the benefit would have been we wouldn't have had any inflation, because there was a lot of inflation on top of all the other inflation we have. A lot of inflation that we had because of the bailouts. Well, we wouldn't have had inflation. However, the economy probably would have came to a severe train wreck halt because of the lack of the money out there to reinvest in other business and things that really drives the economy. Plus, a lot of retirees wouldn't be getting their retirement payments, or significantly less, because of a lot of their retirement money would have been tied up into, again, these toxic loans. Now, for the government did the bailout. Now, I was one of the people. At first, I was opposed to it because again, this is back around the time when I was starting to learn about what inflation was. I'm like, holy crap, we're going to inflate the dollar in order to pay for stuff that these lending institutions did to bail them out. But then the government told them to do this. Now, who's at fault? Well, I would give the lenders a little fault on this. And the reason why I fault, or the reason I fault them, is because they shouldn't have given all these high interest loans and these adjustable rate mortgages, especially if you were going to be insured on it by the government. I understand that if a person with bad credit generally is going to pay a higher interest rate. I mean, that's just par for the course when it comes down to lending. But if you're going to be insured by it, they shouldn't have done that. I felt that believe that they were being greedy, and they just were being greedy with these high interests. They shouldn't have done that if they're going to be insured by the government. But the rest fall squarely on the government for getting in the way again and forcing this to happen. And this is one of the reasons why I'm always for limited government, because government just causes problem. And the reason why, because you have a whole bunch of people sitting in DC legislating that knows nothing of the subject that they're legislating about. When Bill Clinton expanded the Reinvestment Act, was Bill Clinton in real estate? Was Bill Clinton a lender? No. So he was basically listening to advisors and leftist advisors telling him to do so. This is, and government created this bubble, this problem. If the government, when it came in and forced the lenders to do what they did, there wouldn't have been no housing bubble. So again, if you wanted to know what the housing bubble is, or what it was, and why governments just creates all sorts of problems, well now you know. Anyway, y'all, that's my 2 cents on the housing bubble. And sadly, as all the problems that the government caused because of leftist mentality, they never seem to want to stop. They never learn. They say, well, maybe we shouldn't do this anymore because of what we cause here. That's just, these people never stop. But anyway, y'all, as always, until next time.